The Clipse reunion was supposed to be a celebration, a moment of history, two brothers back in sync, standing on stage, dropping verses that brought hip-hop fans to tears. But instead, Malice decided to turn the mic into a loaded weapon. The middle of a brand new Clipse track, Malice went straight for Jim Jones's neck. No hesitation, no subliminals. The shots weren't coded, they weren't playful, they were personal. And here's the wildest twist. He wasn't just firing at Jim Jones for clout. He was defending Nas. Yes, Nas, the living legend, the Illmatic icon, and Malice didn't just defend him, he defended him ruthlessly. The crowd gasped. Fans screamed. The audio leak spread like wildfire. But within hours, the whole move backfired in ways Malice and Pusha T never saw coming. Because Jim Jones, he didn't take it lying down. And Nas, well, let's just say his reaction wasn't what anyone expected. This wasn't just a diss. This was the start of a disaster that could fracture reputations, alliances, and even the Clipse legacy. Stay locked in. Because what Malice did that night might be the biggest mistake of his career. The Clipse reunion was supposed to be historic. Two brothers, Malice and Pusha T, stepping back into the spotlight after years of silence, bringing their icy flows and coke rap legacy to a new era. Fans thought they were going to get bars about the streets, about survival, about the empire they built with nothing but razor-sharp verses. But instead, Malice decided to reignite one of hip-hop's most dangerous feuds, and he dragged Nas into the middle of it. Why Malice versus Jim Jones? To the casual fan, Malice going at Jim Jones feels random, but to those who know the history, this beef has roots. Jim Jones has always been vocal, always ready to throw shade. Back in the early 2000s, Jim dismissed the Clipse's lyrical styles as rap for bloggers, a low blow during an era when mixtapes and street DVDs were king. The Clipse never really responded then, choosing to focus on their music and grind, but that comment stuck. Malice, known for being the quieter, more reflective brother, filed it away. Fast forward to now, Jim Jones recently went viral for his comments about Nas. On a podcast, Jim downplayed Nas's influence, calling him overrated outside of Illmatic and claiming younger rappers don't study his catalog. That set the internet ablaze, and fans dragged Jim for daring to disrespect one of the greatest MCs of all time. For Malice, that was it. This wasn't just about Jim disrespecting him and Pusha years ago. This was personal, because Malice always idolized Nas, citing him as a direct influence on his pen. So when the Clipse dropped their new track and Malice got his verse, he didn't hold back, he went off. Nas, the silent catalyst Nas, for his part, didn't ask to be defended, but his name keeps sparking conflict in modern hip-hop. Younger rappers often question his relevance, while older heads still view him as a pillar of lyricism. Malice defending Nas wasn't just a tribute, it was a warning shot to anyone trying to minimize Nas's impact. Malice reportedly wrote the verse after watching a viral clip of Jim Jones clowning Nas's Grammy win. According to insiders close to the Clipse camp, Malice felt like Jim was mocking the foundation of the culture. He said, "If we don't check this now, the whole game loses respect for legends." So Malice sharpened his pen and delivered a verse fans are already calling the coldest Clipse bar in years. The verse that sparked it all, the leaked lyrics, goes something like this. "You diss the architect while living in his house, talking king talk, but you're just chasing clout. Illmatic raised me, you just raised your voice. Respect the god or get buried with your choice." It wasn't subliminal, it was direct. And the fans knew instantly who he was talking about. The crowd at the listening event gasped. Pusha T smirked, but Malice, he looked dead serious. This wasn't a playful jab. This was a man defending his idol with venom in every syllable. Why? Did it backfire? Here's where things get messy. Malice might have thought fans in the industry would rally behind him for defending Nas. And at first, they did. Twitter exploded with posts like, "Finally, someone checked Jim." Malice standing up for legends, respect. But within hours, the backlash started. Jim Jones fans clapped back hard. They dug up old clips of the Clipse's career struggles, the breakup, Malice's retreat from the rap game to focus on religion, and even Nas's past beef with Jay-Z, using it all to paint Malice as out of touch. Then, to make it worse, Nas himself didn't co-sign at all. He didn't repost, didn't comment, didn't like a single post about Malice's verse. According to one insider, Nas doesn't want to be dragged into another beef at this stage of his career. He respects Malice, but he wasn't asking for anyone to defend him. That silence? It hurt Malice more than Jim's clapbacks ever could, because now the narrative was shifting from Malice defends a legend to Malice inserted himself into a beef no one asked for. The brewing storm. Jim Jones, he thrives on chaos. As soon as he caught wind of Malice's verse, he went nuclear on Instagram Live, laughing at Malice, calling the Clipse washed, and promising a diss track of his own. Fans instantly smelled blood. The Clipse's reunion track wasn't supposed to start a war, but Malice's loyalty to Nas just lit a fuse that might blow up bigger than anyone imagined. And here's the kicker. Pusha T reportedly warned Malice not to drop the verse, but Malice insisted, and now the whole game is about to pay the price. When Malice spit his verse, the crowd gasped like someone had pulled a fire alarm in the middle of church. The room went from hype to tense in seconds. Everyone knew those bars weren't for a faceless rival, they were daggers aimed directly at Jim Jones. But what Malice didn't realize? He had just stepped into Jim's playground. Because Jim Jones isn't just a rapper, he's a showman, a troll, and a master of weaponizing social media. Within hours, Jim flipped the entire narrative. Jim Jones responds. With Venom, the leaked video hit Instagram before the night was even over. Jim wasted no time. He went live smirking, glass of champagne in hand, Dipset chain glinting. Malice? Bro, you had to come out of retirement just to mention my name? That's cute. That's real cute. But guess what? You still living in your brother's shadow, homie. Push carrying y'all for years. Now you want to be a superhero for Nas? Don't do that to yourself. The comments exploded. Jim violating. Not wrong, the Malice better come back harder or don't come back at all. Then Jim dropped the bomb. And Nas, I respect the man, but he don't need you to fight his battles. If Nas got smoke, he'll handle it like a king. You just a deacon who got bored. That one line set the internet ablaze. Deacon who got bored immediately started trending, mocking Malice's religious retreat from rap. The memes were merciless. Malice in a church robe holding a mic instead of a Bible, captions reading backslid for bars. Nas's private reaction leaks. Here's where it backfired badly. Fans expected Nas to come out swinging in support of Malice. At least a cosign, a thank you, something. But instead, silence. Nothing on Twitter. Nothing on IG. Now, after the backlash, Pusha looks furious. A Clipse affiliate told Rap Radar, Push feels like Malice just sabotaged their comeback. He wanted headlines about the Clipse are back. Instead, it's all about beef with Jim Jones. Worse, Pusha reportedly stormed out of a meeting with their label after seeing the internet clown Malice. He allegedly told executives, "This wasn't my verse. Don't drag me into his war." The Clipse reunion, meant to cement their brotherhood, was now splintering before it even began. The first twist, Jim drops a snippet as if things weren't chaotic enough. Jim Jones doubled down. Less than 48 hours later, he posted a snippet of a diss track on Instagram stories. The caption, "For the Deacon." The snippet went like this. "Y'all preaching, but I'm teaching. My sermons hit the streets. You left your brother starving. Now you back for clout and beats. Talking Illmatic? Boy, you sound dramatic. I'm still relevant. You nostalgic. Automatic." The beat was grimy, the delivery disrespectful, and the streets ate it up. Clips of the snippet went viral on TikTok, with fans rating Jim's bars surprisingly high. Suddenly, the narrative wasn't Jim Jones is out of his league. It was, Jim's actually rapping better than Malice right now. That's when the internet turned. Instead of praising Malice, they started mocking him. Malice caught a stray in a battle he started. Imagine trying to defend Nas and ending up looking weaker. Clipse reunion over before it even started. Fallout. The streets react on fan forums. The divide was clear. Older heads applauded Malice for standing up for Nas. Younger fans sided with Jim, clowning Malice for being irrelevant. And Nas's silence made everyone question if Malice's loyalty even mattered. One viral tweet summed it up perfectly. Malice defending Nas was like a knight rushing in for a king who never called him. Respect the loyalty, but it just looks sad now, and the fallout isn't over, because whispers are spreading that Jim Jones is dropping a full diss track targeting Malice and Pusha T, and here's the twist nobody expected. A leaked snippet suggests Jim takes shots at Nas too, directly. This isn't just Malice versus Jim anymore. This is spiraling into a triangle of disaster. Malice defending Nas, Jim mocking both, and Pusha caught in the crossfire. When Jim Jones previewed his diss snippet, the game thought it was over. Malice had been clowned, Pusha T was frustrated, and Nas was silent. But nobody realized Jim wasn't done. Within 48 hours, Jim dropped the full track, bluntly titled Sunday School's Dropout. The name itself was a shot at Malice's spiritual journey, and the lyrics, nuclear. Clipse back? Nah, that reunion dead. Preach about God, but still chase the bread. Nas don't need you, he a king on his own, you defending crowns that ain't yours to own. The song immediately went viral. Funk Flex spun it on Hot 97 3 times back to back. Blogs declared Jim the unexpected winner of a battle nobody asked for, and then Jim landed the low blow. Pusha carried you, Kanye co-signed, you only rhyme when you see dollar signs. You found God, then stay in them pews, don't step in arenas where legends lose. The internet erupted. Jim had done the unthinkable. He wasn't just clowning Malice, he was challenging Nas by proxy, and fans knew it. Nas's camp scrambles. The verse put Nas in an impossible position. He had nothing to do with Malice's choice of words, but now his name was being dragged directly through a Dipset diss track. According to insiders at Mass Appeal, Nas's team went into damage control mode immediately. A leaked email exchange between his label reps revealed the panic. We cannot let this spiral. Nas is not beefing in 2025. He's focused on his projects. No responses, no interviews. But here's the kicker. Another source close to Nas claimed he was furious about Malice putting him in this position. Nas doesn't want to be dragged into every generational debate. He respects Malice, but he didn't ask for this smoke. And Jim's words crossed the line, but Nas knows responding would age him down into the drama. So what did Nas do? Nothing, and that silence just made Malice look weaker. Pusha T's breaking point behind the scenes. Things were falling apart for the Clipse. Sources inside Good Music's old network revealed that Pusha snapped at a rehearsal, reportedly yelling at Malice. I told you this wasn't the way. You dragged me into a circus. Now they think we clout chasing. The tension was so bad, a label exec leaked a memo saying there's concern that the Clipse rollout is compromised. The focus is on the beef, not the music. And here's the shocking part. Pusha allegedly reached out to Jay-Z for advice on how to pivot. Why Jay? Because Hov's history with Nas and Dipset gives him unique leverage. And apparently, Jay told him, you can't fight for a legend who don't raise his sword. Walk away from the crossfire, or burn with it. The Jay-Z factor, but Jay-Z's involvement didn't stop there. According to a Rock Nation insider, Jay privately called Nas after hearing Jim's track. The two reportedly spoke for nearly an hour about the situation. Nobody knows exactly what was said, but one line allegedly leaked. We already buried this kind of beef 2 decades ago. Don't let them resurrect it on your name, that quote. Spread like wildfire, framing Jay as the voice of reason, and making Malice look even more reckless for dragging Nas into the mess. And to make matters worse, Jim Jones mocked the leak on IG, posting a photo of himself at a Rock Nation brunch with the caption, funny how tables turn. All Love Tho fans screamed, Jim trolling Jay. This man got no fear. Malice about to regret every syllable. The shocking reveal, a leaked verse. Just when everyone thought Malice was cornered, a new leak shifted the narrative again. A snippet of an unreleased Clipse track surfaced, and in it, Malice spits another verse that fans hadn't heard before. This time, he name drops Jay-Z himself. I ain't need Hov's brunch, I ain't need his crown. I stood with Nas when the culture tried to drown. That one bar flipped the industry upside down. Was Malice taking shots at Jay-Z now too? If so, he wasn't just defending Nas, he was positioning himself as the only rapper willing to go against Jay's quiet dominance. something almost no one in the game dares to do. The backlash was instant. Fans accused Malice of biting off more than he can chew. Industry voices started whispering that Malice was sabotaging the Clipse comeback on purpose, as if he wanted to martyr himself for Nas's honor. And Nas? Still silent. The war line is drawn at this point. The situation had completely spiraled. Jim Jones was winning the public battle, gaining clout off a diss track nobody expected. Nas was caught in the middle, refusing to endorse Malice but unable to stop the narrative. Pusha T was furious, watching years of careful planning for a Clipse return fall apart. Malice had doubled down, potentially alienating Jay-Z while trying to crown Nas as the untouchable king. The result? Instead of glory, Malice was standing in a storm where every direction looked like betrayal, and the real shocker? Word leaked that Jim Jones had another track in the chamber, this time featuring Cameron and Jules Santana, Dipset versus Clipse. It's about to get ugly. The moment Jim Jones dropped Sunday School Dropout, the internet went into a frenzy. Twitter timelines turned into battlegrounds. TikTok edits of Jim's lines hit millions of views overnight, and the debate shifted from Malice defending Nas to Malice getting cooked. It was a feeding frenzy, and everyone wanted in. Fans divide on Reddit, threads stretched thousands of comments long. Team Malice, older heads, respect to Malice for standing up for Nas. Legends deserve loyalty. He's spitting morals in a game full of marketing. Team Jim, younger, fans. Jim cooked him with one track, no debate. Malice jumped into a fight nobody asked him to fight. And then a third faction emerged. Team Nas, clowning both sides. Imagine being Nas, chilling, then suddenly two rappers start fighting in your honor like it's Game of Thrones. The memes were merciless. One viral TikTok showed Malice in a church pew while Jim rapped behind him, captioned, "Preacher versus the streets. Guess who won? Dipset reunites." For blood just when fans thought Jim's response was a one-man show, Cameron and Jules Santana jumped in. Cameron went to live with Jim, laughing, "Malice, we respect you, but this ain't your lane, boy. You don't want Dipset problems." Then Jules posted a studio clip teasing a verse for Jim's follow-up diss. The caption, "Brothers for brothers." Fans screamed, "Dipset back together" just to roast Malice. Malice woke up a whole squad by accident. The reunion hype instantly overshadowed the Clipse comeback. Industry voices weigh in. When producers, journalists, and legends started reacting, the tone shifted from funny to serious. Charlemagne the God on The Breakfast Club. Malice got heart. But the game don't reward heart, it rewards execution. And right now, Jim executed. Joe Budden on his podcast. I get why Malice did it. He saw Jim disrespect Nas and wanted to stand up, but that's not his fight. Nas don't need no defense. That's why it looks bad. Angie Martinez tweeted, "Nas is a legend. Malice is solid. Jim is entertaining. This feels less like a battle and more like chaos." And then the nuclear reaction came from a legend. Rakim breaks his silence. Rakim, who rarely comments on modern rap beef, posted a chilling message on Instagram. Respect to the defenders. Respect to the challengers. But the real ones know what the greatest never needed shields. Fans interpreted it as Rakim subtly siding with Nas's silence over Malice's defense. And that, more than anything, made Malice look alone. Nas fans turned perhaps the harshest backlash came from Nas's own fan base. While some appreciated Malice's loyalty, others felt he made Nas look weak by proxy. A viral post in the Illmatic Forever Facebook group read, "Nas been fighting his whole career. Jay-Z, critics, the industry. He don't need a bodyguard." Malice turned a king into a victim. That sentiment spread fast, with fans flooding timelines. Nas didn't co-sign Malice, didn't post Malice, didn't stand by Malice. That silence is louder than any verse. The Clipse fans. Panic. Meanwhile, Clipse fans were horrified. They'd waited years for the brothers to reunite. They wanted gritty street rap, cocaine metaphors, cold Virginia energy. Instead, the comeback had become a PR nightmare. Fan tweets summed it up. "Bro, we waited all this time for the Clipse, just for Malice to beef Jim Jones?" Pusha must be losing his mind right now. And indeed, rumors circulated that Pusha was considering releasing a solo track immediately to pull attention away from the beef. The bigger picture hip-hop media now framed the story as Malice the Martyr. Articles dropped with headlines like, Malice defends Nas, but did he just sacrifice his legacy? How Jim Jones turned a Clipse reunion into a Dipset victory lap. It was brutal. Every headline made Malice look weaker, more desperate, more isolated. And then, just when things seemed like they couldn't spiral further, the bombshell reveal, an unverified leak, hit Twitter late at night. Allegedly, it came from an engineer at Mass Appeal Studios. The claim? Nas recorded a verse, not for Malice, not for Jim, but for himself. And the alleged bar, I built my castle in silence. Let them fight at the gates. They swing swords for my honor, but I don't share their fates. If true, it meant Nas had finally spoken, not to defend Malice, not to attack Jim, but to remind everyone he stands alone. And that was the cruelest twist of all, because if Nas drops that verse, Malice won't just look like a martyr. He'll look like a pawn who never needed to play. The industry was holding its breath, fans were glued to screens, and whispers of a Nas response spread like wildfire. For Malice, that rumor was salvation. If Nas dropped even a single bar co-signing, his loyalty, the entire internet would flip the narrative. From Malice embarrassed himself to Malice defended a king and the king rewarded him. But then, the leak dropped. The verse that changed everything. Late Friday night, an audio snippet hit YouTube, allegedly from Nas himself. Grainy, distorted, but unmistakable. And in it, Nas rapped, I don't need pawns and battles I've outlived. I don't need shields when my pen's what I give. Respect the brothers fighting ghosts in my name. But I built my own fire. I don't share their flame. The internet exploded. It wasn't a diss, it wasn't shade, but it wasn't a cosign either. It was Nas saying, I fight for myself, and in that moment, the bottom fell out for Malice. Pusha T's decision inside the Clipse camp, chaos reigned. Sources close to the team revealed that Pusha T had reached his breaking point. He'd tolerated the backlash, the memes, even the Dipset reunion hype. But Nas's subtle distancing? That was the final straw. One insider told Rap Daily, Push told the label he's dropping solo material immediately. He doesn't want his comeback tied to Malice's war. He thinks Malice burned the Clipse name for nothing. The rumor? Pusha already has a solo single locked and loaded, and produced by Pharrell with no mention of Malice, Jim, or Nas. If he drops it, that's not just damage control. That's Pusha separating himself publicly from his brother's mess. Jim Jones smells blood. Meanwhile, Jim Jones doubled down. He went live again, smirking ear to ear. See? Even Nas said it. He don't need Malice. Bro fought a war for free. At least when I diss somebody, I get streams. He wasn't lying. Jim's diss track was charting on Apple Music's hip-hop list, his first real chart traction in years. Malice had given him new life, and he knew it. And now, Jim hinted he has a second diss track featuring Cameron and Joel Santana, Dipset versus Clipse. A war Malice cannot win alone. The final cliffhanger, but the real twist came not from Jim, not from Pusha, not from Nas, but from Malice himself. At 3 a.m., Malice posted a cryptic message on Instagram. White text, black background. I bled for kings who never asked. I fought battles that weren't mine. Maybe it's time I fight for myself. New music soon. No mention